The strategy behind 100 B-21 stealth bombers is so calculated, so terrifying, and so unstoppable that it changes everything. And wait until you hear the shocking reason why the number isn't 99 or 101, but exactly 100. This single choice will keep generals in Beijing, Moscow, and Tehran awake at night. By the time we finish, you'll see why this number is pure strategic genius and why it reshapes the future of global power. And trust me, the best reveal is still coming. Welcome to Jet Insight, where we decode the strategies that keep America ahead. Because missing these breakdowns is like flying blind into enemy airspace. The number that terrifies the world. Let's start with the number itself. Not 80, not 120, but exactly 100. When the Pentagon announced the B-21 Raider program, plenty of critics rushed to say it was just about budgets, factory limits, or even political compromise. They were wrong. This number is not a guess, not a convenience. It's a mathematical weapon. Here's the cold military-grade calculation. In any bomber fleet, only about 30% is available for combat at a given moment. The rest are cycling through maintenance, training schedules, or standing by for nuclear alert duties. That means when you own 100 bombers, you're really holding 30 aircraft ready to launch instantly at any crisis. Now think about what that means in practice. 30 invisible B-21s that can lift off and hit Beijing, Moscow, and Tehran at the same time. 30 platforms that could be carrying conventional precision bombs or nuclear payloads, and the enemy won't know which until it's far too late. This isn't just about raw firepower. This is psychological warfare woven into numbers. Adversaries understand that 100 isn't so large that the US can't sustain it, and it's not so small that America risks being underpowered. It's the perfect balance, efficient, sustainable, but utterly devastating when unleashed. And remember, strategy isn't just about how many you have, but how you use them. The math sets the foundation. The placement and coordination of these bombers is what turns the number 100 from intimidating into world-changing. But the math is just the beginning. The real genius is how these bombers work together. And that's where the nightmare truly begins. When one becomes 10. A B-21 doesn't fly into battle as a lone shadow in the sky. It is designed from the ground up to be part of something much bigger, a living network that stretches across domains. Satellites overhead provide intelligence and track movements. Submarines lurking underwater launch cruise missiles to strike coastal defenses. Fighter escorts and unmanned drones extend protection and scouting capabilities. Cyber units cripple enemy communications and inject confusion at the very moment stealth bombers are moving in. When you connect all of these together, you create something military planners call force multiplication, the ability to make a single weapon act as if it were 10. Imagine a flashpoint in the Pacific. Tensions flare over Taiwan. China scrambles its best defenses, overlapping radar networks, mobile missile batteries, and shielded command posts. Traditional military thinking says you would need hundreds of aircraft to break such a wall. But the B-21 changes the rules. Just 12 of these bombers, carefully approaching from different directions, could dismantle the entire air defense system in one coordinated strike. Each aircraft carries multiple weapons tailored to different targets, striking radars, bunkers, and launchers simultaneously. Their stealth keeps them invisible until the weapons are already on the way. Their onboard electronic warfare systems scramble radar screens, jam communications, and blind operators at the worst possible moment. Within hours, the billion-dollar defenses China built up are nothing but twisted metal and burning wreckage. That is the meaning of force multiplication. One bomber acting like 10. And remember, with 100 total Raiders, the US could repeat this effect globally, not just in Asia. But how can they even get past the world's best radars? That's the next secret. Stealth that breaks physics. China's HQ-9, Russia's S-400, Iran's layered defenses, they all advertise the ability to track and neutralize stealth aircraft. But here's the brutal truth. None of them can reliably stop a B-21. This bomber is not merely low observable in the old sense. It's engineered to be functionally invisible across the kinds of sensors that matter most in modern war. Its flying wing silhouette minimizes edges and angles that reflect radar, so there's far less signal to pick up. Its outer skin and structural components use advanced composite materials that absorb radar energy rather than bounce it back. Specialized surface treatments scatter remaining returns away from enemy receivers. Add powerful onboard electronic warfare that can jam, confuse, and create false tracks. And what you get is not stealth that works sometimes, but stealth that works across the board. The true breakthrough is broadband invisibility. Older stealth designs were optimized for particular radar bands, meaning clever opponents could still detect them using other frequencies. The B-21's design shrinks its signature across the entire electromagnetic spectrum, so multi-frequency arrays and passive detection nets struggle to form a coherent picture. Operators watching their screens may see only fleeting, indistinct blips, never a reliable track to cue interceptors. That puts defenders in a terrible bind. Either light up all sensors everywhere, which is expensive and creates predictable gaps, or turn systems off to save resources and risk missing a strike. The psychological effect is crushing. You can't defend what you can't find. Pilots, commanders, and political leaders suddenly face a constant invisible threat that forces them to stretch defenses thin and second-guess every routine movement. But invisibility is only part of the story, because the B-21 also has something enemies fear even more: reach. Global reach without warning. Range is a quiet kind of power, the kind that changes plans before a shot is fired. Each B-21 can fly more than 6,000 miles without refueling, and when you hook them to aerial tankers, their reach becomes effectively global. That matters more than fans of hardware often admit. Historically, long-range bombing required forward bases close to the fight, vulnerable airfields, fuel depots, and crews sitting inside reach of enemy missiles and sabotage. Those bases are soft under the modern threat. One well-timed strike or a barrage of missiles can ruin months of planning. The B-21 changes that calculus. Or do you leave gaps because you can't protect it all? You can't do both. Moreover, the bomber's ability to alter routing and timing mid-flight, based on fresh intelligence, makes pre-planned defenses even less useful. A strike corridor that looks safe at takeoff can become the danger zone by the time the bomber arrives. That unpredictability forces enemies to spread their defenses wide and thin, raising costs and sowing indecision at the highest levels. Political leaders must wrestle with the fact that their critical infrastructure, command bunkers, missile silos, power grids, could be vulnerable from directions they never thought to guard. If the range makes them sleepless, the payload is what makes them panic. The payload that ends wars before they begin. The B-21 carries up to 30,000 pounds of precision-guided munitions. But this number only hints at the real power. It's the variety and flexibility of that loadout that changes the calculus of war. One bomber on a single mission can deliver a carefully chosen mix: anti-radiation missiles that hunt and destroy enemy radars, bunker-busting penetrators that collapse hardened underground command centers, and small, ultra-precise glide bombs that take out mobile missile launchers or high-value vehicles. Imagine a single sortie where radars are silenced first, then communications and command nodes are smashed, and finally mobile launchers and supply hubs are eliminated, all in a tightly sequenced window that denies the enemy time to react. That multi-mission capability means commanders no longer need to assemble huge task forces of specialized aircraft. A few B-21s, coordinated with drones and cyber effects, can produce the combined effects that once required squadrons. That ambiguity multiplies deterrence because defenders cannot instantly know intent or weapon type, raising the political and military cost of miscalculation. In short, 100 B-21s aren't just planes. They are a distributed, flexible arsenal that makes aggression riskier and defeat more certain. But the real fear: many of these bombers can carry nuclear weapons. That's where deterrence takes center stage. But the real fear? Many of these bombers can carry nuclear weapons. That's where deterrence takes center stage. Nuclear deterrence. Every time an enemy radar catches an approaching blip, if they even catch it at all, the first instinctive question is: conventional strike or nuclear strike? That uncertainty is the whole point. When an adversary can't quickly and reliably determine whether a flight profile carries bombs or thermonuclear weapons, the safest political and military choice becomes extreme caution. The B-21 amplifies that caution by pairing near invisibility with real nuclear delivery options. One of the most significant additions to the arsenal is the long-range standoff missile, a nuclear-capable cruise weapon with roughly 1,500 miles of reach, which lets a bomber threaten deep targets while remaining in relatively safe airspace. If only 10 of the 100 raiders are placed on nuclear alert, properly armed and ready, they represent a credible, flexible strike option that could cripple an adversary's critical infrastructure and command systems. That capability forces rival leaders and generals into longer, more cautious decision cycles. And in high-stakes crises, hesitation can prevent escalation. Deterrence works when the cost of aggression is unacceptably high and uncertain. The B-21 makes that cost both real and ambiguous. Political leaders must therefore factor the risk of unseen nuclear response into any plan that imagines using force against U.S. interests or allies. But there's another layer: production strategy. And this is where America played the long game. The industrial strategy. History already taught the United States a costly lesson. Take the B-2 Spirit, for example. Only 21 were ever built, and because the enormous research and development costs had to be spread across so few aircraft, each one carried a jaw-dropping price tag of more than $2 billion. That program, though revolutionary, left America with too few aircraft and a dangerously thin industrial pipeline. The B-21 Raider flips that script completely. By committing to build 100 aircraft, the Pentagon spreads those same fixed costs over a much larger production run. The result is a lower cost per plane, far greater availability, and a manufacturing base that stays healthy for decades instead of collapsing into disuse. This decision goes far beyond the immediate need for bombers. Defense planners understand that aerospace strength is not just about aircraft sitting on the runway. It's about the factories, the engineers, and the production lines that can create the next generation of technology. Every B-21 that rolls off the line also sustains the skilled workforce, the advanced materials suppliers, and the precision tooling companies that form the backbone of American aerospace. That means when future aircraft or space systems are needed, the U.S. won't be starting from scratch. The Raider program ensures that critical industrial know-how is preserved and continuously sharpened. But before you think this is only about numbers and factories, there's something even bigger: alliances. Global power projection. For allies like Japan, South Korea, and Australia, 100 B-21s mean America can protect them instantly. They don't have to spend trillions on long-range strike. They can count on American air power. For enemies, this creates paranoia. Every U.S. bomber could appear over their most critical target in hours. Do they risk escalating or back down? This uncertainty is the true genius behind 100. It forces adversaries into paralysis while reassuring allies. And here's the part that keeps generals sweating. The U.S. doesn't need massive formations anymore. Just 2 to 4 bombers working together can achieve what once required entire fleets. That's not just a weapon, that's a revolution. So let's put it all together. 100 bombers equals 30 ready-to-fly stealth nightmares. Each one multiplies force, coordinating with satellites, subs, and cyber units. They're invisible across all radar frequencies. They can launch anywhere on Earth, without bases near the fight. They carry massive payloads, conventional or nuclear. They strengthen America's industry and alliances. This is why 100 isn't just a number. It's a formula for dominance. And it's why, when America decided on 100 B-21 Raiders, it didn't just build bombers. It built the future of warfare. If you think 100 is terrifying, wait until you see what happens when these bombers start controlling unmanned drone swarms in combat. That's a reveal for another day. So hit subscribe, because if you miss that, you'll be like a fighter jet running out of fuel mid-dogfight. You won't make it home. Stay with us, and never miss the strategy behind 100 B-21 stealth bombers.